As the words of the old song about teddy bears' picnics go, if you go down to the woods today, you're sure of a big surprise. You won't find any bears tucking into their food in this video though. Just incredible discoveries that people have found in the dense and mysterious forests of our planet. From strange formations created by nature to artifacts made by human hands, our forests are hiding some truly astonishing things. Let's take a closer look at them. When teams of scientists launch rockets into space, they take great care with the planned route of whatever it is they're firing into the sky. Usually, they'll try to ensure that any disposable parts of a space vehicle drop away harmlessly into the ocean. That can't always be guaranteed, though, which is why helicopters had to be scrambled to Yakutia in Russia after the launch of a Soyuz 2 rocket in June this year. Scientists quickly realized that the falling parts of their rocket were off course and feared that they would cause harm to land or people. Fortunately, the fragments of the launch vehicle that ended up in the forests didn't set fire to the trees around them. A total of 3 parts of the rocket stage fell on the Viloy Ulis, with a few more pieces of the space-age technology landing further away in the Alden area. Although crash landing in the forest like this is a messy-looking ending for the Soyuz 2 mission, it was a success. The payload of weather satellites it was transporting into Earth orbit is now safely circling the Earth. Anyone walking through the Sverdlovsk area in winter may occasionally get the shock of their lives. At any one time, there may be up to 200 snow-covered tanks hiding in the forest. This isn't a secret invasion, though. It's just where the Defense Ministry park their fleet of tanks when they don't have anywhere else to put them. The official word is that the tanks are under military protection. But based on the photos and video footage we can see here, there doesn't seem to be anything stopping people walking right up to the tanks. Some visitors have even climbed on them to take pictures. The tanks arrive by rail to the nearby Ilinskaya station and are then temporarily housed in the forest of Yekaterinburg while they await new orders. The secret tank car park was first noticed by residents in November 2010. The tanks were gone by March 2011, but new tanks have regularly reappeared there since. It isn't only tanks that the Russian military sometimes leave standing in forests. They've been known to do it with planes, too. People may occasionally come and retrieve the tanks, but there's no such luck for this graveyard full of old military planes, which can be found in forests close to Rzhev. How the planes came to be left here is unknown. They weren't just dumped, they were carefully placed here and assembled into rows. Perhaps at one point someone intended to fly them again. Since they've been left, the interiors of the planes have all been stripped of any valuable equipment or materials, although from the outside you'd never know. There is a military base close to this forgotten airfield. Perhaps this is simply a place the military watches over but doesn't use. Someone must at least be paying it a little attention. We're told the planes have been standing here for a decade, and yet someone has been coming to cut the grass. Also, security guards have been photographed on duty here too. Why would anyone need to guard empty, rusting planes? Don't run away from your screens. This next incredible find can't bite you. What you're looking at is a dog trapped in the middle of a tree, and he's been there for a very long time. While it may look like something from a horror movie, there's a simple explanation for what happened to this poor boy, who scientists have nicknamed Stucky. A team of loggers found Stucky 28 feet up a chestnut oak while working in Georgia on a summer day in 1980. It's thought that he'd have been chasing a raccoon up the tree when he became trapped and was unable to escape. Based on the growth of the tree around him and the fact that his remains have become mummified, the event probably occurred somewhere around 1960. Normally, he'd have rotted away or been picked apart by predators and insects, but wind moving through the hollow tree would have caused a chimney effect, carrying the smell away as the tannic acid within the tree preserved the body. He's now on display at the Forest World Tree Museum in Waycross. The most amazing thing about this forest in Japan is that it isn't supposed to be a forest at all. This is the amazing power of nature, showing what it can do to human structures after just a few years of disuse. Although it looks a little like it might be a scene from the TV show The Walking Dead, we are actually looking at Fukushima as it is today. This is the site of the worst nuclear disaster in Japanese history, where a meltdown followed an earthquake and wreaked havoc upon the area. An exclusion zone is still in place, and over 100,000 people still haven't been allowed to return home. With nobody to look after the roads anymore, thick, dense foliage has crept across them. Plants now surround and then grow through motor cars and motorbikes, as if claiming them as their own. It's not known how long it might be before people can return here and resume their lives. By then, mighty trees may have grown right through the middle of old highways. For over half a century, the true identity of the strange white box found in Moncton, New Brunswick, was a mystery. David McPherson Sr. was the man responsible for the find, having spotted it out in the woods and been drawn to it because he'd never seen anything like it before. The box had clearly fallen out of the sky, because it had a parachute attached to it. Before he could conduct any independent research into his discovery, the Canadian military tried to make him hand it over to them. That told McPherson he'd stumbled onto something he probably shouldn't have. McPherson did hand it over in the end, but never believed their explanation that it was a weather balloon. He was right not to. After McPherson passed away, his son decided to try anew to get to the bottom of the mystery, and found his answer in recently declassified CIA documents. The box was an American sky camera, which was supposed to have been taking candid and top-secret photos of the Soviet Union. It had flown badly off course and come down in the woods. This grainy video footage from Quebec in Canada looks like it was taken just before the start of the apocalypse. But no matter how bizarre it may appear, this is a perfectly natural phenomenon. Those who live close to the area call this effect the breath of the earth. Rainstorms are frequent in this part of the woods, and the roots of the trees overlap each other, pushing them close to the surface. Added together, this means that when the rain comes down hard and the ground is soft, a strong wind can almost pull the roots of the trees up through the ground. The ground resists, and so we see the earth bend and warp as it battles against the elements. We hope the person behind the camera didn't stay there too much longer. There's nothing preventing the trees from falling over and landing on them. If you should ever encounter conditions like these while you're out walking, head in the opposite direction as fast as you can. The ground is likely to be so soft that you could fall through it. We've all heard about crop circles, but how about tree circles? When aerial photographs of a forest in the Miyazaki prefecture of Japan surfaced on the internet recently, conspiracy theorists were all over them in a flash. Surely only aliens could be responsible for creating such intricate patterns with trees. Actually, no. This is a form of experimentation, but its origins are distinctly human. These are Japanese cedar trees, known as sugi, and they were deliberately planted in concentric circles more than 50 years ago as part of a forestry project. With space in Japan limited, the government of the 1970s wanted to rethink small matters like tree spacing to see if more could be done in limited spaces. Each tree was planted in a radial increment of 10 degrees, creating a total of 10 concentric circles. They didn't imagine they'd cause such a stir when someone invented Google Earth decades later. The experiment seems to prove that tree density has an impact on growth, and the effect is now spreading out into the rest of the forest. We can't be expected to be on the lookout for buried treasure every time we walk through the forest. So sometimes we need animals to give us a helping hand. A pair of hikers traveling up Chalk Mountain close to Likavka in Slovakia have a family of wild boars to thank for their amazing discovery. The boars had dug deep into the earth, leaving an exposed hole full of 15th and 16th century coins for the hikers to find. When experts were called, they dug a little deeper and found a clay jug in the bottom of the hole, proving that the coins had been buried there on purpose. The value of the coins would have been a fortune at the time of their burial. Some of the gold coins found in the jug were of equivalent value to the entire annual salary of the average laborer of the 1500s. The good news for the couple is that they're entitled to a 100% finder's fee. So when the treasure is sold or bought by a museum, they'll be able to cash in. We wonder if they'll share any with the Boers. If aliens had ever visited our planet, you'd like to think we'd know about it. Someone somewhere would have left some kind of written record. Perhaps they did. Perhaps these strange stone carvings, found in a cave in the middle of a forest in Mexico, are exactly that. The figures carved onto the stones look suspiciously similar to the kind of alien figure that's most commonly described by those who claim to have seen aliens, with the large craniums being the most easily identifiable part. Some have claimed the carvings are forgeries, but the stones are real. They're probably the work of an ancient and mysterious Mayan civilization. Was this just a strange Mayan way of representing humans? Or are they a commemoration of an extraterrestrial event? Perhaps the text that's been deciphered from the largest of the carvings offers us a clue. It's called The First Meeting. We're not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. On the topic of aliens, perhaps you think this enormous ball in the middle of the forest near Dubna looks like an alien spaceship. You wouldn't be alone if you do. Many people who have come across the strange structure have had the same idea. We can't say for certain that they're not right either. No official explanation exists as to what this odd sphere is, or how it came to be here. But the commonly accepted theory is that it's an old Soviet radar dome. People who live close to the dome say that they've known it to be empty and unguarded since at least 1980. But that's not to say nobody comes to visit. As you can tell from the graffiti in the interior, lots of people do. The fiberglass construction of the ball gives it excellent acoustic properties, which has seen it used as an impromptu concert venue. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, the fate of a lot of military hardware is unknown. We've seen tanks stockpiled in the snow and planes left by an airfield, but at least the military acknowledge those seemingly unwanted vehicles. Surely somebody must be missing this plane. The IL-28U has been sitting lonely in a forest in an undisclosed region of Russia for at least 30 years, and probably longer. It was eventually found by a man who'd gone wandering into the forest to pick mushrooms and found a lot more than he was expecting to see. Although the condition of the plane isn't good after all this time, if thieves and scavengers have visited it, they've made some strange choices of what to take away. The radar identification system is still on board the plane, as is its power supply. In theory, the power might even still turn on, although we don't recommend that anybody should try. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, and you will be the first to know when a new video comes out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.